Today is Holy Saturday. This is, I believe, one of the most important moments in the entire life of Holy Week, because it really focuses in on the direct reality of most of our lives. After the news of devastation or despair, after the shock of death, then we begin learning, what does it mean to live into this new reality? What is next? It is the unknown. It is this period of time that is the unknown, full of uncertainty, full of wilderness and wanderings. It is a day when we try to live into what is the valley of the shadow of death. And so today we hear from Job. Job has faced many tragedies and sufferings and lots of pain in his life. And he's trying to figure out what God's purposes are and what his life is all about in the midst of these tragedies. And so the passage that we're going to hear is really a lament on the brevity of human life, that even the trees and waters, even nature, seems to renew itself, but he laments that no mortal can escape death. And then from the Gospel of Matthew, we hear what happens after the crucifixion, and it is the burial of Jesus and the sealing of the tomb. And then we will get to hear from the Roman Centurion, who witnessed the crucifixion, but yet this crucifixion was different than any other that he had ever seen. And finally, we hear from Mary, the mother of Jesus, who was with him from the very beginning unto the very end.
A reading from the Old Testament, Job chapter 14, verses 1 through 14. How frail is humanity, how short is life, and how full of trouble. Like a flower we blossom for a moment and then wither. Like a shadow of a passing cloud, we quickly disappear. Must you keep an eye on such a frail creature and demand an accounting from me? Who can create purity in one born impure? No one. You have decided the length of our lives. You know how many months we will live, and we are not given a minute longer. So give us a little rest, won't you? Turn away your angry stare. We are like hired hands, so let us finish the task that you have given us. If a tree is cut down, there is hope that it will sprout again and grow new branches. Though its roots have grown old in the earth and its stump decays, at the scent of water it may bud and sprout again like a new seedling. But when people die, they lose all strength. They breathe their last, and then where are they? As water evaporates from a lake and as a river disappears in drought, people lie down and do not rise again. Until the heavens are no more, they will not wake up nor be roused from their sleep. I wish you would hide me with the dead and forget me there until your anger has passed. But mark your calendar to think of me again. If mortals die, can they live again? This thought would give me hope, and through my struggle, I would eagerly wait for release.
John chapter 19, verses 31 through 42. Since it was the day of preparation, the Jews did not want the bodies left on the cross during the Sabbath. especially because the Sabbath was a day of great solemnity. So they asked Pilate to have the legs of the crucified men broken and the bodies removed. Then the soldiers came and broke the legs of the first and of the other who had been crucified with him. But when they came to Jesus and saw that he was already dead, they did not break his legs. Instead, one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and at once blood and water came out. After these things, Joseph of Arimathea, who was a disciple of Jesus, asked Pilate to let him take away the body of Jesus. Pilate gave him permission, so he came and removed his body. Nicodemus, who had at first come to Jesus by night, also came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, weighing about 100 pounds. They took the body of Jesus and wrapped it with the spices in linen cloths, according to the burial custom of the Jews. Now there was a garden in the place where he was crucified, and in the garden there was a new tomb, in which no one had ever been laid. And so, because it was the Jewish day of preparation, and the tomb was nearby, they laid Jesus there.
The scene was horrifying. Not that I wasn't used to crucifixions. They were the favored way of putting prisoners to death by the Romans, and so I'd assisted many times. But I'd heard about this man, Jesus. We thought Barabbas was going to be on this cross, but the crowds had become almost out of control, and I'd heard that Pilate simply washed his hands of it, sent this one to die just to shut them up. Who knows what these crowds really were screaming about? There was so much confusion and rumor. No one will probably ever know the truth, is what I think. But when the reality hit his followers that Jesus was really going to die, and they saw him heading to Golgotha with a cross, the horror really began. Even the heavens seemed to be wailing as storms began to appear. It gave me a chill, I'm going to tell you. These are not things I want to tell you. I'm a soldier. But it is always easier protecting others than protecting yourself. From the mothers who beg for mercy for their sons, and for those who insist on waiting the hours and days it takes to die this agonizing death, being a soldier can't always protect you from what you witness firsthand. Like hearing Jesus talk to the prisoners on the other two crosses next to him. The promise that death is not the end for them. And then he looked at me, right at me, and he spoke the words I'll hear for the rest of my life, and the words that mean I can no longer do this job anymore. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Later, after he died, they pierced him in his side. I still don't understand why, but in that moment I knew that he was truly the Son of God. His blood poured out just like the love he poured out for his people. The blood flowed from his side. The blood flowed. The love flowed.
My son, from the moment the angel said to me, "You will bear a son," my life was no longer my own. And yet it was every bit mine. Moments treasured, remembered in my heart alone. Every moment he grew within me. Every day of his youth, every moment of his ministry, from that day in Cana to this very minute. At times, the pain of watching him give his life away seemed harder to bear than the wonder of this unimaginable life God had given me. And especially now, in this moment, I am not just the mother of Jesus shedding tears for my son. I am the tears of any mother who has seen their child die before them. I am the tears of every mother who has lost their child in war and injustice. I am the tears of all loved ones who cannot save their loved ones as they starve or are taken by illness or injury or are swept away in a tsunami or a flood. I know the tears of mothers whose children lose their lives to addiction or are consumed by depression, or who are lost to violence. And I am the tears of all of those who do not know the fate of the missing ones. I am the tears.
Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you there when they crucified my Lord? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Were you there when they laid him in the tomb? Oh, sometimes it causes me to tremble, tremble, tremble. Were you